Let me see. Before I move on to Ms. Coates and your case, first of all, Mr. Hackett, you've heard all the recording issues. Do you have any questions or concerns about any of it?
Yeah, I don't agree with this. And I know you're saying what your statutes are for the state of Texas and things like that, but I don't agree with my court hearing being publicly broadcasted for people I don't know.
Well, that's fair. However, if I'm in a courtroom, strangers could walk in and observe. However, that might be a little bit different because less people walk into a courtroom than log in. However, the other thing I can tell you is I need you to consent to the Zoom. And if you don't consent, we'd have to set this up for an in-person hearing in Guadalupe County for me to go back to court. To be in a courtroom and do it the old-fashioned way. You are allowed that if you're wanting to do that. Yes, but I don't have regular dockets. There's one docket that's come. Is it Guadalupe that I have? I'm trying to remember.
Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
It is. At this point, if Mr. Hackett would like to hear what I say first before he makes a decision, that might help him decide on what I have to, or what he decides first.
Okay, so right now I'm taking your request to do an in-person, I assume, docket instead of Zoom. Let me hear what the state has to say. But let me ask Ms. Brandon, you also heard everything about the recording issues. You have questions or concerns about them, including the same as Mr. Hackett or not?
No, ma'am, I'm okay.
You're okay with doing Zoom?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
But if somebody objects and doesn't want to do it, I am required to go back to a courtroom. So let me hear from Ms. Coates. You'll announce yourself, give me some background, and address Mr. Hackett's request, Ms. Coates.
Yes, Your Honor. Deandra Coates for the Attorney General's Office. Today what we filed was a suit affecting the parent-child relationship. And we did DNA testing. The parties were told the results. At this time, Your Honor, the state is not asking to move forward on a hearing. And so what we would like to do is just get a reset and ask that Your Honor order some things in the reset, but we don't plan on having a full-blown hearing to where Mr. Hackett's information will be put out, or they would be hearing anything personal. So with that, if he was willing to consent for just today, and then we could have an in-person hearing for his case, which is this docket, or for this county, Your Honor. We do have an in-person June 17th. Your Honor actually just knocked one case off, so we could actually replace one of the cases with this case.
Really? I did? Tell me about it later. I didn't realize I had. Okay.
It was Mr. Balderas' case you just did, Your Honor. We were going to put a contempt there.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Well, are you asking for anything that I would need to hear testimony on, or for today?
Your Honor,
part of the reset?
What we're asking for is that this case be reset for both parties to bring evidence on their stances, because they both want something different. There's not a single issue they agree upon. And so I want more evidence provided. Technically, this is our third setting, but last setting, Mr. Hackett wasn't available due to medical reasons. And then we'll tell you if he decides to move forward, Your Honor, on Zoom, that he didn't get notification about this setting until I called him. And so he wasn't prepared with anything today. And like I stated, both parties want extremely different things. And so I believe that they both need to bring evidence with regards to what they're asking for. Specifically, I would also ask that Mr. Hackett be ordered to reach out to the VA and get a new current updated letter and turn over some more financial documents. And then there's also issues of retroactive support on whether or not it should be granted. And so I think both parties should bring that information as well. So there's a lot of things that need to be.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
You'll get your full chance when she's done. I'll come around back to both of you. Okay. So you're saying that if I went forward today, one is, well, Mr. Hackett doesn't agree, and two is they're not really prepared for me to hear. She said with no evidence to support either one today.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
Then you want to question either of the witnesses about your requests?
Since Mr. Hackett has something to say. So Mr. Hackett, what did you want to mention?
I'll be honest with you, ma'am. This keeps getting pushed out more and more. And I'm really not trying to not be there financially or physically for my daughter, regardless of how anyone feels. And to keep taking off and taking time, I know for her, because she has to do her little driving shift and I have work to do. And I'm fighting for my job. As you all know, the government's trying to cut all of us and everything like that. So I'm just not trying to ask for anything from the job, but be present and work so I don't lose my job, because I do have other mouths to feed. And I'm just trying to be, regardless of the past, the best father that I need to be for the child, regardless of how anyone feels. And I submitted to you all my stuff, and I have not been in close contact for personal information or business for Mrs. Brandon to contest my children and just different things like that. My mom is my witness too as well. That will go and swearing about the amount of kids I have and things like that. Miss Brandon was not aware of certain things. She was only aware of what she was aware of. So with that being said, I mean, even if the non-custodial kids that I don't have outside of the one that I am raising alone, I can't get their birth certificate and stuff from their mom. Like, I don't have that information.
If you're a parent, you're on this birth certificate, you should have access to it. You could be able to get it yourself. But
well, it was complicated situations. Nothing that hadn't. This was before they're not small like Melanie is.
okay.
But that's the whole deal. It's not a matter of I just want to move forward to say okay, because that's just making her wait even longer. Because if it's a money thing, then let's move.
I would also tell you that there's an account set up and send money, and even there's not a court order, that state wouldn't reject it. Would you, Ms. Coates, if they have the right information? Would you be able to document it that way, even if there's not a court order?
Our unit does track that, Your Honor, but the main issue is that Miss Brandon does not like the numbers we provided her. She believes he's receiving more money through the VA, and Mr. Hackett only sent us a letter for 2022. We need a more recent one. And the issue also is that Miss Brandon doesn't believe he has 5 minor children, and he's saying he does. And so we need some type of proof that he's got minor children that he's responsible, whether they're living with him or he's financially providing for them. Additionally, Miss Brandon wants supervised visits, and my understanding is Mr. Hackett doesn't. And so there are claims that Miss Brandon is going to make. And,
Wait, let her finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Let her finish. I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. And so the current child's 3 years old, and as Your Honor knows, it's presumed that the child, without proof of evidence of physical violence or anything like that, it's presumed a standard is appropriate. But Miss Brandon is going to testify that it's not. And right now, she just has her statements. I don't know if there's proof of why there shouldn't be, because we don't have it. And as I stated, there's retroactive that's being wanted. So that's 3 years worth of retroactive. Miss Brandon has some screenshots, I guess, of money Mr. Hackett has sent, but I don't know if they agree upon that. Mr. Hackett says he has sent money, so we need that. It is just too much. It's going to be too heavily contested to proceed today without any of the paperwork.
I've been doing this for a long time. I've done a lot of he said, she said, but when I know there's evidence out there that y'all could bring, so the disputes would be a little bit less, and I wouldn't have to decide who's telling the truth, who's lying, or you're both half telling the truth and half lying. I mean, I don't like to do that. And plus, I'm an associate court. I'd mentioned that earlier. You have the right of appeal to a higher court. And what I have found is if I do he said, she says, and you don't get what you want, you lawyer up, go up, get lawyers, go get evidence, go get witnesses, and go to a higher court and start all over with a brand new case that I never got to hear because I went with the he said, she said. And that's not fair to me. And that's not fair to my higher court, that I didn't do my job properly if I didn't get evidence I should have had. So let me start with you, Mr. Hackett. Why should I not require you to bring more recent VA or whatever, Social Security. I'm sorry, I already forgot. Whatever evidence you have on 2024 benefits or even 2025, if they've posted something like that. Every January of every year, I think you get a cost of living raise or something.
The whole deal is, or thing that I'm saying is, to keep pushing this back, nothing's in place.
Okay,
And
you've had a
and
child for 3 years and you're just now getting to court now. So don't blame us for everything. These are the facts. Nobody said court's going to be overnight or fast or to your convenience. You already don't want to do Zoom, and I don't blame you at all. If you want a court date, that's the only court date I have available so far, because a few other people have decided they don't want to do the live stream either. So I have a court date I can give you. Yes, it's not tomorrow, but hey, it is what it is. And if you have money and you want to send and you don't want to get zapped with child support later and make up for it, you can send money in, or you can document it through CashApp, or you can do something where you keep records, because there's no court order for child support. I get it. I'm not going to pick a number just so that the state opens an account, but there are ways to help and prove it later that would benefit you, and not, I'm going to have the he said, she said today of who knows how much you paid and y'all 1,000 or 100. That's what I usually get. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So, Mr. Hackett, what do you want to say? You want me to go, Ms. Brandon, first while you collect your thoughts? That'd be okay.
let her
Okay,
talk.
Ms. Brandon, why should I go for it today under these circumstances? If I know it's a full-blown contested hearing, all I got the two of you, and I don't know what the truth is at the end of it.
Miss, I can see how the uncertainty of wanting to go ahead with it, with the he said, she said, like you said. I have no problem with toppling over to the 17th. My only concern was, like you said, Mr. Hackett has had a child for 3 years, and we are just now in 2025 going, I guess, back and forth about said responsibility, said visitation, said financial records of said child. Mr. Hackett, in part of our relationship, Melanie would be his 6th child. With that being said, he always said that he knows what it takes to raise a child. However, it's not until now, during this court proceedings, that he has decided that now he wants to be a father. Even though 5 kids before, you knew what they needed, you knew what it took to be a dad, but it took me putting you in this proceedings, in this situation, to now he has an epiphany on life and would like to be a father. I don't want to move forward on something that's going to be just today. So today it sounds good. Tomorrow he might change his mind. I need to make sure that Melanie's well-being is taken care of consistently. So I would like to move forward with the courts. I will provide any documentation the courts would like me to provide. And I don't want it to be a he said, she said. I would like it to just be laid out information for you. That way you can make any decisions you might need to make in the best well-being of Melanie Hackett.
Okay, now do you want to respond, Mr. Hackett?
I do.
What do you want to tell me?
It's not the level of being a father or a present father or financial father. I have raised 3 of my children. She knows 3 of them. I mean, 2 of them that I raised. 3, Symphony, Nehemiah, and Aaron. She did have a short-lived relationship with them when we were dating at that time, or talking, or whatever we had going on. To keep pushing it out, and for you to tell me what I have and what I don't have. I mean, my mom's around to even attest to swear about how many kids I got, just because it was not shared with Miss Brandon through the last 4 years or 3 years since we've been not together, or whatever however you want to call it. That's none of her concern how many kids I do or don't have. You know what I mean? That's my business. It's really not her business. Her business is Melanie Hackett, not the other children that I'm providing for, not providing for, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So yes, I sending money every month. Like, no, I was buying this, doing that, and I understand where she's coming from, because I too am still raising a 13-year-old, and I don't get anything for fund money, nothing. You know what I mean? But it's okay. I trust God. I keep it moving, keep it pushing. I keep raising them. I have a son in the Navy I raised, who never had his mom. I'm a grandfather, you know what I mean? Like, I've raised kids before, but I physically had the kids, which is different than being a custodial parent versus a non-custodial part-time parent. It's different when you wake up to the child every day in your home, and the effectiveness of being a parent, you know what I mean? And to be just a financial dad, and then you come see the child when I say you can, that's a bit unfair too, to the other parent to just make it about a money thing and controlling, you know what I mean? But I do understand the concerns. Would I just let my 13-year-old just go with anybody? No, I would not. But then there's things where I know Melanie is not with family sometime and other people that she may trust. But what if, God forbid, something happened when they were with those people? You can't gauge to say what's going to happen or what's not going to happen with your child. Even that daycare stuff happened to kids, you know what I mean? And you pay for that every month. So I understand her concerns and the well-being of the child. I'm concerned with Melanie too, and the things that happens with her. You know what I mean? Yes, I had a deeper epiphany of been wanting to be more involved than I was before. Absolutely. For different reasons though. But all that's personal. The deal is Melanie needs a dad, Melanie needs a mom. And at this point going forward, she can have both. But the dictating of this, and that, and who got this and that, those things are not her concern. You know what I mean? The concern is, like she said, the child, the best interest of the child. And when I'm spending time with Melanie, she's fine. She's happy. An incident did happen that went wrong, and I didn't do what they said I did, or assumed that it happened that way when she fell and hurt herself and everything like that. And those things, it's so bad now when I'm spending time with Melanie and while being supervised from her mother, I'm scared to touch her because I'm scared if she fall or hurt herself, CPS gonna come back to my house. You know what I mean? And questioning my other child and taking pictures and going through the cabinets and different things like that. There's enough to go around for everyone, and I got it to keep pushing. And I can't tell you, Judge, what right to have or what right not to have. I just don't know what she's trying to get. What are you trying to get? What do you want from me? You know what I mean? And what would you like? You know what I mean? Why we can't come to an agreement today to say this is feasible? And I understand she's like, well, your other kids don't have nothing to do with me. I got that. They don't. But it has something to do with me, the father that's providing for these different children. And I'm not on child support for all of them. I only have 2 other child support cases through the courts. Everything else is verbal, and we talk the other parent, and we work things out how we work it out. So I don't have a bunch of documentation as far as the other children that's not court ordered to show you, Judge. But I wouldn't lie. My mom is my witness about my other kids. You know what I mean? And she's in their life and she talked to them. We just never shared this information with Miss Brandeis, so she's unaware.
Okay.
And when we're not in the space where I'm going to share that or talk to her about any of my personal stuff, you know what I mean? I've tried to warm back up to being cordial, to being kind on the strength of Melanie for the sake of her. 2 parents getting along, not being nasty and ugly. You know what I mean? Just like I recently just been giving her some payments for stuff, trying to help retro half of what daycare would have been during the time she's been in this new school. Like, I'm trying, and I get what she's saying, like, oh, now, you want to whatever. I get those feelings, but there were other factors that played in, and some of it was things I could have did better. I won't lie about that. I'm all about accountability. You know what I mean? I could have been better and done and handled some things better in the past. But I'm truly just trying to say, okay, boom, this is my life. This is very stressful for me. I'm in and out the hospital physically. I serve this country, no one else. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of elements. I'm in and out the hospital while also being a single parent and wanting to be Melanie's father. You know what I mean? And I just...
You're telling me a lot, and that kind of helps. But what I'm trying to do is do my job. And if y'all have opposing opinions, that's your choice, and you can come in. But it doesn't seem right to me to have y'all pushing to go forward today when I don't have all the answers that I'm gonna need. Like, so Mr. Hackett, you'd be able to bring your mom to court and she could testify. You wouldn't be able to get all the birth certificates, or at least most of them, some of them, get some evidence and or witnesses. That would help. But was the VA, did you say it was VA, Ms. Coates, the benefits he's receiving?
Yes, Judge, he's receiving some VA benefits.
So why wouldn't you have any updated information on that you could provide, Mr. Hackett? I
have to request it. This is the whole deal right here. If it's your disability, is that counted? That's not earned or gross income. Like, I'm just trying to figure. I don't know how this court thing works.
There's some disability that is not considered income and some that is. And I think VA we do consider as income. Is that correct, Ms. Coates, or do you have any other information?
But
yes, Judge. The veterans, the VA benefits, Your Honor, are considered as income unless it was an injury that occurred not related to the service. So it is considered a non-taxable income.
It's non-taxable, but it's still income, so it can be considered for child support purposes.
Yes, Your Honor. So we would have to consider the VA plus what he's making with his employer.
Okay, so you heard that here, sir. So I would need to know the exact number. Is it not possible to, do you have an account that is set up where you can log in and get some whatever documentation you need, or you have to actually call or go by the VA and ask?
Let me try to, let me try to get into this login thing.
Okay.
We'll be able to go move forward today or no? If you have that?
Well, it's up to you. You didn't want the Zoom. You want it in person. You don't want to do this on live stream, which I don't blame you, because a lot of stuff comes out and I get to hear it all. Most of it is not the kind of stuff that I would, that I've been told that I can just close the door on, because family law is kind of messy sometimes. And I hear lots of things, and a lot of it has been posted on, well, not posted, but streamed on live stream for YouTube, because that's the way I'm doing court. That's how I'm conducting court, and I'm required to do this. It's not like my choice. So depends. You want to go forward today? And the other thing I can tell you is, if there's some way, even, I don't like wasting time either. And I do believe June 17th is quite a ways off, and maybe wouldn't be to Melanie's benefit to do nothing. But I also got some hope here. I think you heard you say that you were actually seeing the child, even if it was under some limited supervision. Is there something that y'all could agree as a temporary Band-Aid so that you get to see the child and get to see her more? So maybe that bonding has progressed by the time I see you, and you'll have the right to ask for something else versus starting from scratch in 3 months, because that doesn't seem.
That's going to break the time and everything like
exactly.
that. So is there a temporary order, financial and visitation, which is fine, for now, that I can do? Temporary
Well,
order?
that's the thing. How much can I do without hearing evidence? If you all agree to something, either in in the break rooms with the state, if you tamp this down a little, you're going to get to be heard. I don't know when and where, but possibly not today. But I can do something called an interim order that puts something in place in writing that you both know what it is. And if you can agree to it, that'd be great. If you can't agree to it, I'd have a hearing to at least do some kind of visits, whether I do the financial or not, depends on if I have information, good enough information or not. Otherwise, and even the number of children we can charge you with, because if you're fighting about all that, then you get stuck with whatever I say on the he said, she said, whether it's right or wrong. And I'm not willing to spend 3 hours on a case that could get appealed, or it could be totally different on another day with better evidence.
Your Honor, we did try to come up with some visits, but Miss Brandon didn't want to talk anymore with my child support officer. So at that point, I just said, okay, we're going to have a hearing. So,
yeah, I know. A lot of times, I think it works best if y'all can talk, because if you do, you're setting the ground for co-parenting and maybe reaching some agreements. Then if you buy into it, it's better than me from this side just saying, here it is, whether you like it or not, here it is. And one of you is going to go off and appeal me. So Miss Brandon, you have your hand up. You may as well say it now. What?
Please. I wasn't contesting the amount they said. They told me, hey, he has 5 other kids to worry about, so we're going to give you an amount. I was contesting the wait, he doesn't have 5 other minor kids. So I don't want it to seem like I'm holding up the court in the court's time. I have always given Mr. Hackett the ability to come see his daughter. My door is currently unlocked.
But what's your position today on how he should see this child if I give you a June 7th court date?
With someone present, like with myself or someone present. He hasn't been in her life at all, Miss Judge. He's basically seen her 3 times just this year, only because of court. He's come on birthday parties and one time in the summer when his mom wanted to see her. So he hasn't established a relationship. I have no problem with him establishing that relationship, just not let me pick her up for the weekend and take her, and it's stranger danger to her. So that's all I said to the young lady that was on the phone with the state before.
So even if it's for a few hours, it has to be supervised, all of it, every single time for right now, even if it's a few hours.
Because I feel like my daughter is unsafe with him, because his first visitation in this year ended up in a hospital visit, and he called it a little situation. However, she is now damaged until she's into her teens because of said incident, which is the CPS he brought up. So that is uncertain to me. I'm supposed to be my child's safest person, and I can't just hand her over to anybody. And I know that's her father. Okay. But to her, she doesn't know who he is, and I would like to be present if that's okay. Or someone else, if the court would like to establish someone else to be present instead.
Okay, so what has he been doing? At least let me figure it out before I send you away or not. What has he been doing? The last visit was when and how long was it? Who supervised and where was it located?
It was located at my house. It was
It was in my home.
the,
Can't even agree on that. Which
The last visit was in my home. Me, her, my daughter, my mom, and my son.
on Saturday for his mother's birthday. We came over there for 37 minutes.
Well, that's the last contact. That's the last contact. It was 37 minutes. That was when? Last Saturday?
Yes, ma'am.
You do agree with that?
And I initiated because she had never been invited to his house before. So I said if he was
She initiated the area or place where we had it, but it was not that you initiated. You did. And I'll be honest, I don't trust people in my home and things like that.
your own daughter, that is?
No. Melanie's fine. I'll be honest, at that time, I didn't want you coming into the house. I'll be honest with you, I didn't.
Okay.
Hold on.
Hold on. No, you hold on because you talking more and more and more. I'm trying not to get there because it's going to blow up and I'm going to have to send you away with nothing in place. I'm trying to keep it kind of calm, kind of quiet, can we work something out? So if the child was at his house with one of his relatives, would that work, Miss Brenton?
No, ma'am, because his
Why not?
relative has been in place where other incidents in his home has happened and she has looked the other way.
So who would be acceptable to you?
I don't even know anyone here. All I have is myself. I don't have family in this particular. I have a sister in Dallas and a brother in Killeen. Those are the only family members I have present.
So he's never seen the child alone?
He's never seen the child alone, ma'am.
And you've been at all of them?
Yes, ma'am. And at birthday parties where he had came. Yes, ma'am. There were several people at the birthday parties.
So last Saturday, what was the occasion that?
His mother's birthday. And I told him it would be a great idea for us to come see the mother, who's usually in Philadelphia.
Okay. And then the one time before that was the one you were going to refer to at your house. When was that?
January 4th, when there was an incident that ended my daughter with blood profusely falling out of her face and a hospital visit.
So how did that happen if you were there?
I was sitting on the couch. Mr. Hackett said that the last portion, Miss Janet Rodriguez, told him that he needed to establish care with the child and create a relationship and that I couldn't impose. So I sat on the couch and moved away from the visit so I wouldn't be hovering, is what he called it, she said, to make sure that I didn't hover. I was sitting on the couch. He was behind in the dining room, and that's where him and the child were playing. And in the midst of that, he said there was a tug of war over a toy, and she ended up face flat first on my concrete floor, bleeding while he was yelling in the back of me, "Stop all that crying." That's why she acted like that, because you baby her. Stop all that crying, while she's bleeding profusely.
Okay. So what happened at the hospital? What was the diagnosis or anything else that you can tell me about that?
We went to the hospital. They just said that she didn't have a concussion. She didn't have any deviated septum, to just monitor it, put her on soft food diets, and then follow up with the emergency dentist because she had just had her teeth capped. I followed with the emergency dentist. We had a follow-up appointment. They wanted to remove all of her teeth out of the front of her face. They said that the impact on the floor hit her next level of teeth up, and they would have to remove all the teeth in the front of her face.
Did they do it?
They did not. They said, okay, I know you, this sounds kind of, I started crying. They were like, we know this is a lot to take in. What we'll do is we'll watch it. We'll see if her body will maybe change or react to it differently. And if in 2 weeks, her teeth have not created an infection, we'll let her stay then. So I went back in 2 weeks, there was no infection. So they said, okay, great, bring her back in 3 months. If there's no infection, then we'll leave it alone and we'll let her teeth do what they're supposed to do. If an infection comes up, we have to pull everything out. I'm sorry, ma'am, we do.
So have you gone to the 3 months or just happened?
No. February was the 2-week appointment. So our next appointment is in June.
So who would supervise if it's not you, if y'all cannot see same ways and
I don't
blow up?
Supervise myself, or I was told there was a facility in which supervisions happen all the time. I don't have a problem with that either.
Okay, Mr. Hackett, what can you offer?
So one, that's not how Melanie fell, actually, but that's neither here nor there, because if she didn't see how she fell, there's no way that you could say how she fell. We were in the same room. My daughter kind of like, because sometimes when she don't get her way, she kind of like drops herself out, fall out. We were playing with the Mr. Potato Head, and I was showing Melanie how to put the glasses and nose on the Mr. Potato Head. I was sitting in her little chair where her little dinette, she got like a little kid dinette set. I was sitting in the chair, and then she was trying to show me something. I was like, I said, Melanie, it goes on like this. And when I was trying to show her, Melanie is very bossy. She gonna have it her way. So I said, all right, girl, you got it. And when she fell and hurt herself initially, I didn't see any blood. until Brandice was like picked her up and she was crying. And I was like, girl, you all right. You know, I am a male, I'm a dad, I'm a man. So I'm like, I think she just had a little boo-boo. She's all right. The fall did not look egregious or really bad. And Miss Brandice can't say how the fall was because she wasn't looking, but we were in the same room. Her back was towards us. I didn't think it was a bad fall. I made a bad judgment call as far as how, but the truth is, it's not how she fell. It's the fact that her tile in her kitchen area is very hard. The floor is very hard. You could drop a glass and it'll break on that concrete. It's very cold and hard. So when she fell and hit her mouth, because she kind of like went forward and hit her mouth or whatever, I didn't even see her hit the mouth. It just happened fast. And I was like, girl, you okay? Come on, get up. Just like when we was walking in the park the other day, her and I and Melanie on Wednesday. So I seen Melanie Wednesday and Saturday when she made the deal of my daughter not being invited to the home, and that wasn't the case. And I was trying to prove to Brandice, that hey, the Melanie can come over there. And I was really hesitant, really about her coming to the house. Honestly, about as far as from an emotional standpoint, that's why I was being that way. But I said, you know what? It's about her. Let her come. It had nothing to do with my mom's birthday because I just allowed her to come on Saturday because my mom was not there for the visit on Wednesday. So I said she could just come by on Saturday before my mom goes out for her birthday. Mom here helping with my son from time to time because it's allowed on me with my son and school and work and just everything. So the visits prior to that, before she fell, we never had an issue. I never even knew that she was scared for me to keep her by myself or none of that. I just thought she just wanted to, quality assure the kind of parent I was when she's literally seen me watch other kids. And I know back in the day, you know what I mean? Maybe I didn't handle things the best, you know what I mean? As far as, I think she probably was more afraid of my temperament. But since then, I've gotten a lot of help, tools, prayer, church, counseling to help me handle response and be a little better when I'm responding to something, right? When you're in survival mode and life is happening, that puts you in a place. My mom will agree to the amount of kids I have. I just don't want to hold up Mel's financial part, and I don't want to not see her. Long as it's not like the police and weird stranger people involved, I don't mind her being there sometime. But how can I ever establish a relationship with my daughter by ourselves? I mean, a year can go from now. You can say, okay, I think you're good, and then an accident happened. You're still gonna feel some kind of way. Even in school, my daughter had an accident in one of her schools in the past. She had a seizure or something happened, and her mom was really, really upset. Something happened at the school. Like things happen, That doesn't mean it was intentional. I would not intentionally harm my child, and I understand her concern of being a mom because I'm a dad mom too, where I raise kids without the mom. So I also understand her standpoint of saying, you know what I mean. But at some point, we got to let Melanie into the world. She's going to go to first grade, second grade, third grade. Things will happen. She may be at recess, get hurt, and I got it being protective over our children because I'm like that with my 13-year-old. You know what I mean? Raising him alone by myself. But there's been several visits where everything was fine except for that one thing made her more apprehensive with the trust factor. Now, like I said again, my mom is right around that can say, hey, we do have I have these many grandkids, you know what I mean? Or whatever, the amount of children I have. But at the same time, why not put a financial thing in place? Ms. Brandice, would you be willing to say a number of what you think is fair amount today?
That's allowed. I would have asked the question at some point, but because I'm trying to see if I do an interim order, it's not really a full-blown order, but if we start putting child support and visitation and custody and everything else, if you all agree, fine, but you haven't agreed up to this point. So I would hear more evidence or testimony, unless you went back to the break room with a totally different attitude and maybe could reach some agreements, which I'm not sure we need to do that. I just either do it something Band-Aid approach today and maybe order, and the state would probably not want me to order child support if I don't have the right numbers, because then I can't go back and undo them if they're wrong, either high or low. I can't undo that once I've ordered something. I can change it for the future when we come back, but for the meantime, if I ordered something and it stays that way, I can't give you more or less down the road to undo what I just did. So but that doesn't mean you couldn't send something, whatever you think is right, and send it, and she has the benefit of it, and it's going to credit you toward back pay when we eventually get there. I don't know who's there, Mr. Hackett. Somebody there talking to you?
Yeah, yes.
Who?
My mom.
That's fine. However, if she's interfering with you, I want to give you answers or.
Because no, she's not giving me answers. She's been around for this whole thing.
Okay.
And she's remembering conversations and remembering situations.
Okay. Well, I'm not.
So, because I had to leave work to come home to have this meeting because I couldn't do that at work. This court deal. So yeah, Miss Brandy's. I don't need to make up a story about my other children and stuff like that. Can we just put something in place financially that you're okay with? And I don't mind for now meeting with you as far as the whole we meet at the park or somewhere. I'm not going to do nothing to y'all. You know what I mean? I just wanted to have that relationship, regardless of when and how and when. It's about her, not our feelings, right? Not my feelings, not your feelings. It's about Melanie's feelings.
So let me ask you, Mr. Hackett. So you'd still want the in-person hearing in June for me to check in and see what more we can do and see how it went, but try to do some temporary orders today? Is that what you're saying?
It's up to her. It's up to her agreeing to us moving forward.
Yeah, it's up to her agreeing or me deciding, but I am not there yet. So are you okay with that scenario, doing something like a Band-Aid approach here today that solves at least some visitation and some child support and then go in person on June 17th? Is that what you're still looking at, or do you still want to come back on Zoom?
That's fine. I'll just do it the way you're saying it. I mean, if she's not agreeing to amount, I want to just pay the child support to her. I know she's not willing to not have you all involved, so I understand that part. I had to accept that.
Well, whether she likes it or not, we're involved, so I don't think this case is going away. Ms. Coates, there's no reason I would dismiss this, or you would non-suit this, correct?
I could dismiss it. That's
because the state doesn't have an interest. Is that what I'm hearing? The state doesn't have their own independent interest on the Medicaid money or anything else?
I'd have to look, Your Honor, but we've already spent so much money bringing this case forward, and
well, you're going to get paid whether no matter we hear this case or another case. I'm talking about state.
And we do have an interest right now.
Yeah. Okay, so you probably wouldn't be able to non-suit it.
No.
Then.
And then the issue is that the whole reason child support is an issue is because Miss Brandon was the one who let us know that he's getting VA. She wanted us to calculate child support based on VA. She kept bringing it up. And the only information I have is what Mr. Hackett brought for 2022. And like Your Honor says, if they agree on paper to a number now, then we can't come back and change the number. So that's our problem, is that Miss Brandon wanted the VA counted, and I can't count it. I can't give anyone a number because I don't have that information.
So what's the latest information you have? Even if it was 2022, how much do you have on that? Do you have that information? You've seen it that he's provided?
It was like 722 at 40%, I think. And I believe Miss Brandon says he gets 80%.
Now, let me ask this. If I don't have no contact with her, I don't talk to her about any of my personal business or any of that, how is she to say what I'm receiving? We not in a relationship. I haven't touched her since the child was conceived in 2021. How are you to say what I'm receiving?
See, that's why I would have a long hearing and she would tell me why she thinks she knows this information.
If you're not having someone use my name and social to look in systems illegally. Well,
that's not my job here. Okay. I need to get the information. The best person that can get that information is you, Mr. Hackett. Now,
but I showed you all my VA document and it's not good enough. So what money?
No, because it's dated. It's 3 years old, or at least 2, possibly 3 years old. So yes, it changes. And every year you should have an update from this system. Ms. Brandon, you heard him ask about meeting in the park or somewhere with you there. Would that work?
Yes, ma'am. Works perfectly.
Which days and what times?
Anytime she goes to school until 2:30 currently. So anytime, I know he works till 5. So we've been doing 5:30. We did 5:30 the day he's recalling. I'm okay with that.
He was talking about Mondays and Wednesdays. I didn't hear you say anything about recently or Mondays and Wednesdays besides the grandmother visit, birthday or something.
Yeah, well, we can't dictate days. I mean, we both have a schedule. I also have a 13-year-old I'm raising alone that has appointments. That
If
has.
you want some visits and you want them now, and then we can punt and give you something now so that you can come back with better information, including the number of children, including this and that and the other. She's offering visits in the park. Are you okay with that, sir?
Sure.
Okay, which days would work for you and your schedule, Mr. Hackett? Let me start with you.
I'll be honest. It's kind of hard to say like this day, right? Because life deals us different cards on different days, right? Like Mel may have something, Aaron may have something, like, and she knows my son that's living with me. You know what I mean? So it's like that's hard.
Okay,
Like
I get
right
it.
now, I could say, okay, Tuesday and Saturday. You know what I mean? I could say throw anything out there. Those days, I'll just say this, Judge. Let's say Tuesdays. It's cool in the evening. We could put that out there, and unless something else happens on my end, and I'll communicate with her.
Okay.
And maybe Thursday.
You want them both on evenings?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, ma'am. It
It's
has to
getting
be.
darker later now, just recently, and that would work in a park. It wouldn't be too dark. If
Right.
you do what, 5:30 or 6 or something, Miss Brandon?
Yes, ma'am, that's fine.
Which one?
5:30 is fine.
5:30 to what time?
I don't know if am I supposed to pick a time?
Well, because I'll send you away. I want it real specific that y'all both agree to it, or that
You said a time.
Yes,
It would
and
have to be
that's
around
just
by 6 for me, only because my 13-year-old will get us off the bus when no one's present. About between 5:15 and 5:40, depends on how the bus takes forever for him to get out of school and go to all the neighborhoods. And sometimes he is present with me when we do the visits and things like that. And sometimes he has counseling, therapy, whatever.
What visits?
sports.
Are you talking about a lot more visits I haven't heard about than this Monday, Wednesday thing? Okay, go ahead and tell me what you're saying. What visits have you had already? That she said there were only 3 and they haven't been
No.
much.
What I'm saying is, so all the visits she's been present. A few of the visits my son was present, and then we recently had one on Saturday when I put my guards down and allowed her and her other child in my home.
Okay, I heard that.
Um,
But the
so
other visits, what days were they and what times were they and where were they?
Oh,
And who was there?
I went to her house. Usually I'll go to her house in the evening. If we did when she's off and I'm off at a good time, and we'll correspond. And they've been like after 6.
Until how long did they
The
last?
last one at the park on the past Wednesday was at 5:30 because that worked for both our schedules. I try to work with her because I know she has a different kind of schedule, and in my work schedule and traffic and kid and other child, you know what I mean?
Okay. So tell me again, what's going to work? Tuesdays from 6 to what time?
I don't know. Whenever she want to be done, I don't know if she want me to have an hour visit. That's fine. 'Cause I still got to cook dinner. It'd be so great if I could get her cook dinner for my other child. It's a lot, and she being a single parent. I say 6. Let's see, 6 to 7.
What is wrong with Saturdays? Are you both working on Saturdays and Sundays?
Her mom works like every day, like different shifts. So she ain't, she's
Miss
not always
Brandon,
available.
speak for herself. Can you do Saturdays, Miss Brandon, or Sundays?
Yes, I could do Saturday evening or afternoons. Melanie has dance class on Saturday mornings, and she has cheer on Sunday afternoons. But we can pick another time. I can move my schedule anywhere direction. So I'm open to. I've always put it up to Mr. Hackett's choice. So whatever Mr. Hackett decides, I'm down now.
I'm trying to get your choices and putting them down in writing, and so y'all get used to something specific, and you don't even have to talk about it. Either you make it, and if you don't make it, if y'all can agree to a different time and place, you can do that. But at least a starting point, and that you're both on the hook for it, unless something major comes along. And if you cancel, you don't make it up. If she cancels, she has to make it up, because that's the way it would work, Miss Brandon. So what would exactly, if it's Tuesdays, what hours, and if it's Sundays, what hours, or Saturday rather?
Saturday would be best in the morning. So before she has to go down for a nap, she gets out of dance at 10. We don't get home till 10:30. So
So
good after
noon, 1 o'clock. What Saturday at what time?
Can we do Saturday at 4?
And how much time are you considering that this would work for? 2 hours, 3 hours, more or less, or what?
At the park for 2 hours?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, the park is hot. We're saying within an hour. It's hot in Texas. I ain't even.
Well, then should they be somewhere else? And where? See, these are things I have to answer. Y'all can't tell
No,
me.
this is really
It's gonna be a lot
sad
harder.
that
Yes,
it
it's really sad. Yes, it
mean,
is. This is what I do for a living. But if I can get people on the same page, you're much better off than me picking for you. I guarantee it, because I don't know your work hours, your schedules, and all the other things that are going to happen in between. So here we are, Saturday at 4 o'clock till what time and where? Mr. Hackett, you want to?
Saturday doesn't always work for me because my son has things going on. I got to do. I'm the only parent for him here. I don't have family here, so I don't always have a village.
Which days will totally work for you if we put it in writing? Is there no day 2 days that are going to work?
Yeah, that's fine. It could be Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. And then can it be based upon the agreements of the time on the Saturdays for me and Miss Brandon?
Well, if I can get you to agree here or order something, yes, it's got to be specific. And then if
I see what you're saying. So it doesn't matter if life happens or not. You're just going to put a time, right? And it's up to us.
I want a time that's more likely to happen than not, but if at least you know where you are, and if you have to tweak it on your own, you're allowed to tweak it because things happen and y'all can talk and work it out to something different. That's allowed. But I don't have a crystal ball either to know what your work schedule and what other things are going to happen. So my job is to put something in writing that y'all can't argue with, that this is what is set. But if you agree to something else, you can do it.
Tuesday and Thursday is fine. And if she allows something outside of that, I guess that's between her and I. It's fine.
Tuesday and Thursday at a house, a park, or something?
Park. That's fine. Unless it's too hot, then we'll just figure it out.
You can 100 degrees somewhere else. You can move it indoors, or if there's a gazebo or something else. Tuesday, Thursday, at which park are you talking about? Either of you?
You got a park near our house. It's fine.
You have a name, and the state can look it up and put the address in there. But do you have a name of the park, Ms. Brandon?
Looking it up now. I didn't know it had a name. It might not have had a name. Oh, Selma FM 1518 Park. That's what it says on Google.
Okay, the state will look that up. And then Tuesday, Thursday from 6 to 7, 7:30, 8, what? One of you? Anybody have?
6 to 7 is fine. Hour's fine.
Okay. And then Tuesday, Thursday from 6 to 7 at the Selma Park. And any other time, Ms. Brandon?
No, he picked Tuesday, Thursday, so I was okay with whatever his schedule worked.
Okay, that at least is something, and twice a week for at least 1 hour. I think that might get you a little place somewhere. If I do that for the entire next 3 months till I see you June 17th in person, can you live with that? And can y'all tweak it or increase it if things get better and y'all chill out and child starts to bond? Or do I need to, y'all can work it out, you think, Mr. Hackett?
I don't have a hostile situation with her outside of the thing that hit me today with the we ain't agreeing thing. But outside of that, we were just talking fine, very cordial. We were just texting fine, very cordial.
I want you to get back to that. I don't know what happens. I just know people come in here excited, upset.
You know what happened? A money thing got involved.
Yeah, money always gets involved. So let's talk about that. If we at least settle the beginning of some visits, do you have a number you have in mind, Ms. Brandon, without knowing what his VA is or knowing what you think it is?
No, ma'am. I didn't go into this expecting to have X amount of dollars in my pocket. I just went into this letting the state agree on this is how much he needs to donate to your cause. Daycare is $12.50 a month. I originally asked him to help me pay that. That's how we even got into this situation where he told me that was too much for one person to pay. He opted out of it. So I just needed assistance.
Well, it's not based on daycare. It's technically based on income. I don't know his total income.
Right.
The state thinks they know something from the past, but not current. So, and that's just half the thing. Or if they said what you said, you'd fight.
The state said file something a month, and then the other thing was brought up. Brandy's, would you agree to $600 a month? Something. I mean, please, so we can move forward. I just want to be a father and pay this money every month, and we just get along. I don't want to fight with you. This is so stressful for me, and it's taking time out your day and my day. Please.
Okay. 600 is not bad, but unless you're making thousands of dollars, and I don't know it. However, it would be for a short 3 months, but then we could change it, modify it. We got better numbers the next time. Would that even be remotely possible, Ms. Brandon? Or are you thinking of much higher numbers? Or
no, ma'am. 3 months is fine, and once we get all things settled in December 17th. I mean, sorry, June 17th. That's totally fine.
But you're okay with $600 a month even without evidence today?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Coates, do you have anything that support that would or show something else? Ms. Coates, or people are you're free to come in and agree to things whether there's evidence for it or not. I'm trying to get to the right place, but I don't know it yet. So if y'all agree and you're here representing yourselves and you want to put that in writing, I don't have a problem with it. But you can't complain next time, ma'am, that it's supposed to be 1,000 and I only gave you 600 if you agree to it, and me telling you I don't have enough evidence to make that ruling. But if you agree, I would accept it. So fully with full knowledge and without any kind of coercion or force or anything else, Ms. Brandon, would you freely and voluntarily agree to $600 a month?
For the rest of Melanie's life?
No, till June 17th when I could address it again, hopefully with better evidence. Because I'm not doing a final order today. I'm not nuts. I barely know you people. I have no evidence. This is short term to get you in a courtroom and get a better hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Coates, is there any reason I shouldn't do that? That the state's aware of?
Is that including the Medicaid thing I'm supposed to be paying? Because the state said $539 a month with the Medicaid piece, but
I'm trying to ask
this could be an interim order, just reserve everything else, and in 3 months come back and decide all that. However, Ms. Coates, just to get your reset and get us out of here, are you okay with that or not? Do you need more of an evidentiary hearing than I've already had? I know.
I'm trying to get the child support officer to respond to me, Your Honor, because I don't know what number she's using, and that's not giving him credit for any kids. So
he's the one that offered that number.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do $1,250
because she said initially 4 or something, and then when she added the percentage that I sent the letter with, it went up to $539, and that was adding the Medicaid that I will owe the state. And I'm asking Miss Brandy, can we agree to $600 a month? And I still do everything else that I said I would do via how me and you spoke. Please.
I said yes already. She's asking Mrs. Coates and Miss Coates.
Ms. Coates, do I need to do something like, well, that would impact Ms. Brandon, but you get the Medicaid for the child, ma'am?
My understanding is that the dad has health insurance for the child, and when he gave the number to Mr. Hackett, it was based on 5 kids.
No, so this the whole deal. It's not 5 outside minors outside of baby girl. There were 4 other kids, including her. That's what I was saying, that I'm paying for that are minors. Miss Brandy's was just unaware about something. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Brandy, basically what they're saying is, if today you're like, whatever, that's your business with your other kids, whatever, that's none of my concern, are you willing to put this in order today and we can move forward? And I will still do all the things I told you, still court ordered.
Mr. Hackett, have you tried to put the child on your VA? Would it be?
I'm not getting in. No, I'll never. No, you can't. No. So if I put the child on the VA, I think it's like $50 a month. Yes. Per dependent, you get an extra $50. You do. I know that for a fact. Because I get $50 a month with that total I sent you for Aaron Hackett. Melanie Hackett would add another $50. I never put her on my VA stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't.
But you would get the $50, but no, I'm asking if there's insurance coverage through the VA for your dependents.
Oh, no, not at all. They don't do that. They don't cover your dependents. I would have had to have retired to receive TRICARE. You have to retire from active duty to receive that.
Okay, you're not there active now. You're
No. I didn't do enough time in the military.
Okay.
So I would have had to have done 20 years, and then they offer you TRICARE, and then you could add your kids and everything to that. I never got that because I didn't retire.
How long were you in the service, whichever service branch it was?
I did 8 years.
With which branch?
The Navy.
Okay. Does that comport with Ms. Coates, that he would not have coverage through the VA?
I don't know nothing about the VA at this point, Your Honor. This is why I said I need evidence. I need information.
But is the child, or you can't tell me this, Miss Brandon, is the child on Medicaid? Do you have the Medicaid program for the child?
Yes, on Superior Chip.
Superior. So if I carved out a few dollars for the state out of the 600, if it's 550 and 50 or five something else and something for Medicaid just on a temporary basis, could you live with that? Because you're getting 100% coverage.
Yes, ma'am.
You would.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Ms. Coates, do you have a number in mind, having done any of the calculations, or 550/50 is okay? I'm flipping a coin here, folks. If the total.
So can I ask one more question, Judge?
Well, yeah, go ahead and ask before she has to answer. What?
Go ahead, ma'am. I don't know who that was. I didn't want to cut anybody off. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude at all.
Okay, what was your question? I'm talking to you, Mr. Hackett.
So why will we have to come back to court is what I'm saying. Because
do you want 1 hour every Tuesday and Thursday for the rest of her life? Because that's all I
know.
No, we have to come back and let you bond and see what else should happen.
Can I be honest?
Yes.
I don't think Miss Brandeis is tripping about me seeing Melanie or not, or the fact that it has to be certain days, if I'm not mistaken, right, Brandy? She just wants to be around until she feels comfortable.
Yes, exactly.
Correct. She's not
vacation.
Well, let me try to do all of us a favor and resolve it. If we did the twice a week for an hour, until what age, ma'am, or how many times, and then another level for so many times, and another level till he gets the standard, maybe at least 2 or 3 levels to make you feel more and more comfortable. And then if y'all go out there and work it out quicker, bless you. And the child would be better for it if you could. And if you couldn't, you're stuck with this. So what kind of stair-step visits would you like, ma'am? Or do you think you could live with till he eventually gets standard? What do you want?
Until he gets standard. I agree with the lady on the first call before Ms. Coates got on. I agree with the stepping stone that they had provided.
Okay, what do you know what they provided, Ms. Coates, or do you know, Ms. Brandon?
I don't, because I wasn't speaking to Ms. Coates at first. There was another young lady on the phone.
It was Ms. Rodriguez talking to us, Brandy.
No, but do you know what they offered, and can you?
No, because when I said no to the 430 because he had 5 kids, or she said 413 because he had 5 kids, I was like, wait, he doesn't have 5 kids. And she said, wait, if he doesn't have 5 kids, then we need to figure out what's going on. We'll have to have a judge go into this and find out if it's. So that's where we stopped.
So you think we might could work the visits if we did some stair step leading to standard, and you're willing to do that if we get it rolled over and done today? Is that right, Mr. Hackett?
Yes, I am. Okay. I'm more than happy to.
I heard you say yes. Now, but I need to move on to the money. It's the money part that's throwing us off. Would you want a permanent order today without knowing what is an actual? There we go. See, that's the problem, Mr. Hackett.
I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear.
She said no. I asked her if she wanted something today without knowing what you really make, or without further proof, and she said no. So are you offering something different?
But this is what I'm asking. I asked her what amount did she want monthly, and she said she wasn't tripping about the amount. She was tripping about what was offered. So I asked Miss Brandy, what's fair? What would you like? I'm not even trying to be ugly or anything.
Part of me says, if y'all agree, I'll do it. But the other part is we have ways to calculate that, what the law allows. And we haven't even gotten anywhere near that. But if you throw a high enough number, she accepts, but can you do it? And then it still cuts the state out, or we don't know how much the state should get because we don't know how much you really earn. And besides,
the state takes money out of the child support sum, right?
The state takes money.
There are 2 different amounts. You're going to have to pay 2 different amounts. If you set an amount that is too high for you to pay, Mr. Hackett, that's going to come back and bite you. Because if you can't afford $600 a month or whatever, when it really should have been $400, you're going to incur a 6% interest on that child support every month.
Wow. So 6% of what? I'm confused. What
6% of whatever the child support is. So if you set child support at $600 today, and let's say you don't make that $600 payment by the end of April, it's going to roll over into the next month at a 6% interest, and it's going to keep going.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want. Yeah, you're right. Because y'all involved. I see what you're saying. Once you guys involved, you set different guidelines and standards. I see. Because you're right. I don't want to be homeless. And then my daughter don't even got nowhere to come, and my other kids and my son.
Well, you know your income better than us, even if you may or may not be divulging all of it. Because I didn't hear the rest of it. Is he self-employed with whatever other income comes in, or is it a?
No, he's employed with he has an employer. He sent over a payment stub from November, but I want to take a look. I wanted
December.
W-2s. Well, it said November 30th on it.
I can give you a
So-
copy of my W-2s right now.
So I want to
That'd be
copy.
great if you had a W-2 for 2024.
I do. I can send it over.
Okay, do that.
We wanted that plus the VA because again, Ms. Brandon was asking for guidelines based on his employer and the VA, and we only have from 2022 or 2021. I need Mr. Hackett to request an updated one because then Ms. Brandon also wants 3 years worth of retro. So
Wow,
Mr.
sir.
Hackett, that's like
Okay, you have your hand up, Ms. Brenna. Go ahead. What about retro?
The last court proceedings we had on the 17th, the lady from Ms. Coates' office asked me, Ms. Brandon, are you looking to retro pay? And he asked, what is that? And I said, the back pay because you guys have not lived together and she's been supporting the child alone. I said, okay, yes. It wasn't like I came into this. Ms. Coates is trying to make it seem, I'm not sure if that's what she's implying, that I came into this with an agenda. I came into this with assistance. Please help me with my daughter. The fact that we're in this court proceedings shows that I have not been getting help with my daughter. So please stop making me out to be the villain that I am not okay with this amount. Not okay. All I said is wait till the 17th until he has a chance to turn all his documents in, and I'm fine with that. We don't have to set up anything today. We could have been done with this. I've been sitting here since 8:14 when I was supposed to be here, not when everyone decided to come in later. We can say, hey, he's not prepared. Let's wait until the next time. And then we can go from there. If the state says I get $4, wonderful. If the state says I get $4,000, wonderful. I just needed help, you guys. This is why I started this proceeding. Please help me help my daughter have financial.
we are trying to help you, Miss Brandon. That if I don't have the appropriate numbers for Mr. Hackett,
have to
how
wait.
can I get you? How can I get you retroactive? But I also need to let Mr. Hackett know what retroactive entails. That means if you said yes, that you want retroactive, that means 3 years, which means 36 months times 600, if that's the number. That's a big amount that Mr. Hackett would have to pay. I have to let him know. I'm not trying to make you a villain, but he needs to know that 36 months times 600 is $21,600 that Mr. Hackett would owe to you. If you don't want retro, great. But I'm going off of what my child support officers have told me, that you are asking for back pay because you needed financial help in those 3 years and that Mr. Hackett only helped you a certain amount. So Mr. Hackett needs to know this, that you are asking for financial help. Whether it is 3 years or not, I don't know. I'm just reiterating what I've been told.
Then the other thing, let me pick up from there for Ms. Coates. From the court's perspective, there is a retroactive statute and it does say you may request it. That doesn't mean it gets granted. I still have to hear both sides and see whether it creates some kind of hardship to order anywhere near $20,000, $30,000. I've gotten requests for $50,000, $70,000. Well, anybody would, say, hey, hold on a minute. Or we can go with different numbers. Even if he's requesting 600 now, back pay, you've already agreed that he's done something, but I don't know if you know exactly how much he's done.
The court asked me to be prepared with that information today. So I do have.
Tell me while we're talking, what do you think he's done?
Based off our records for CashApp, which I can provide screenshots for, $958 was provided on CashApp and $3,000 was provided after he required to turn child support off in order to give you that money. So that brings him at a total of $49.58 that he's provided for this child in 3 years.
Okay, well, I can use any numbers, including whatever income might have been, or if I consider hardship, I might even impose a minimum wage support. What would a minimum wage worker have to pay at a bare bones last, whatever ditch effort if I wanted to do that, if I thought that there would be some hardship to order the higher amount, so that even if I ordered, I don't know what minimum wage with 4 other children would be, but anywhere, Ms. Coates, and you have that calculation anywhere? And then I'd give credit what you've requested. I don't know. Do you think you've done less or more than that, Mr.? Probably more, but have you kept track?
If we were to put medical at 36, which isn't even 9%.
Okay.
Probably half of 9%.
Yeah.
With 4 other children, that's only $153 in child support based on minimum wage.
So even 153, just for the sake of argument, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but at low ball is 153 times And it's the solid 36 months. The child is actually just 3 now.
January 6th, which is 38 months, ma'am.
So it's 38 months now. 153
times 153 is $5,814.
And I wouldn't give him credit for the 4,900 because it's such a low amount with as a minimum wage number. Would you be accepting of that? No credit for the 4,900, but get an extra 5,814 for that time, or is that not what you're looking for, ma'am? Or some other?
If you can explain that to me again, you said you don't want me to give him credit for the 49.58?
If I give him retroactive support at minimum wage with credit for 4 of the children, it's such a small amount, $153 a month, that I don't think it'd be fair to also give him credit. Then he'd owe you nothing for the 4,900, 49.58. So I'd say if I gave him the hardship credit and not giving him the 4,900, that it would still yield you $5,814 in back pay that he would now pay monthly over a period of time. Would you be okay? Is that number too low or something else? Because I mean, the total would have been $9,000, $10,000 if you put the two together. What he already did and what he still has to do, that's $10,000.
So you agree with the saying that if he would have paid $150 in child support, he would only owe me $5,000. So please agree with that amount and run with it. I'm not
saying that. I'm saying that's the minimum I would even consider, and that I wouldn't give credit. And so it'd be $5,800. And between those two numbers together, it would have yielded you more than $10,000. I'm saying, is that okay or not? I'm not saying you have to agree with it. Of course not. I'm trying to see if we can work this out. And the big money is going to be the point of contention, apparently, because I thought visitation was, but now it looks like you're on the same page on that.
It's not about me being present at this time.
So
and about I'm solely single parenting it by myself when we both had a child together. That's where I asked.
Okay, I can't make up your time. I'm trying to make up with some money that the law allows. And I'm trying to look at all these different options. So at a minimum, you wouldn't agree with that. That's too low for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Then I don't think we're going to have an agreement. So let's go back to maybe the state have any position on the child support, at least if it were for 3 months. You'll have to come back because I don't think I can get a final order out of you today. If it's by
Your Honor, I'm not comfortable setting child support because if he can't make those payments in 3 months, he's going to start owing that. And it's not fair. And then if Miss Brandon is entitled to more, if he's making more, that's a problem. So no, I don't think child support's appropriate. Now, if he wants to pay on his own, that's fine. But to put it in an order and then have it running against him and when he shouldn't have, I don't think it's fair.
Yes, Miss Brandon.
I agree with Ms. Coates 110%. If we can topple this over to a later time where all the things are laid out.
Isn't what they tried to do before you came in here to give you another court date?
No, it's not.
You didn't hear from me. I'm going to reset it, but I am going to give the visitation that we talked about. I'm not going to take that away because that is wasted time with a child that needs to be seen. And we're going to do whatever other stair steps down the road. So this will be an interim order. All I'm doing is setting some visitation. And that would be Tuesday and Thursday at the Selma Park between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And I assume that you meet at the park. You're not going to meet somewhere else and drive there, I guess. So you meet at the park. And then is there any chance you won't be going to some of these visits, Mr. Hackett? Any chance you'll be there each and every time?
Unless something's going on with my son or work. Yeah, if I have to work late or son, no, I won't make it. I'll effectively communicate with her. Okay, how early can you tell her, and you can communicate so she doesn't make the trip for nothing? Can you tell her, how long would it take you to get to the place, Miss? I'll at least know by noon of that day. Okay. Like she'll have like 6 hour notice, like, hey, I'm not gonna make it today. Can we shoot for another day? And if so, would I get credit for that day? I don't know how this is being. This is wild. This is wild. Yes, it's wild when you come into a court and y'all don't agree and a stranger has to decide your lives for you. Yes, it's strange, but this is how it works. So, Mr. Hackett, instead of... I know, I have to accept it. I know. So Tuesday, Thursday, Selma Park, 6 to 7. And now if he can't be there, he needs to cancel at least by 12 noon that day. So you can do that, Mr. Hackett. You would already know by noon that your schedule works it or doesn't work it. Yeah,
correct?
I'll let her know by noon. Yep.
Okay, so I'm not going to say you have to tell her you're going to go. I'm going to have to tell her you're going to cancel, when you're going to cancel. If any cancellations have to be done by 12 noon on the day of the visit.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm
then
sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
what
cut
I
you off.
usually do is, if it's your fault that you had to cancel, I don't make her make it up. But if it's her fault because something happened or the child's sick, I do want those made up. So you got to try to be there, each and every one, or y'all work it on your own. If y'all have an agreement, I don't care what you do, because I would think you'd be acting as the parents with the child's best interest in mind. And so if you do more time, less time, different days, different places, have at it. You can do that. And if
Okay.
you work in it, then keep doing that. I'm not trying to make this work. I'm trying to make it work so that if you don't have agreement, which you haven't till
Right.
now, it's been
I appreciate you for your
sketchy.
time, Your Honor, and everything
Okay.
you're doing.
6 to 7 p.m., 12 noon cancellation. Mom canceling visits, she has to make up. And dad not going is forfeiting the visit. Dad canceling is a forfeiture. Okay. That's about all I'm doing, and resetting it to in person on June 17th. And for actual court dates, I've forgotten. Is it 9 o'clock, Miss Coates? We usually make people show up at 9 in court, or the deputies and all that, for us to drive there. Right?
I think it just depends on what time your honor goes, but the other case that's supposed to be set is at 10:30.
10:30. No, it's because didn't we have one at 9?
No, we only have one at 10:30.
Then I'd rather have this one at 9 so we can get started with something, so I can get home at a decent hour. So,
Because I know that we have the 8:30 docket.
well, it's because we have to drive there and set up and all that. That's the problem usually with going earlier on an in-person date.
Yeah. So I don't know, Your Honor, it would be this case and Mr. Hared Red's case.
I don't remember that one. Okay. Well, what
Jared
about
Red.
you all to get there at 8:30 and you start talking with the state, and I show up at 9 to start the hearing? That would help a lot, instead of y'all showing up at 9 and then talking and then taking too much time. So go ahead and leave it at 8:30 for them. And if I'm not there till 8:45 or 9, just be forewarned that I have to drive a long way. And so I wouldn't start anything earlier than 9 anyway. And if I'm there earlier and can, I will. But that gives you at least half an hour to talk with the state and see if you can work anything out, or for the state to look at your evidence. So now I've got visitation. I got a reset order for June 17th at 8:30 in person. And are you going to just spell it out and put the address in there? Is it the annex, or I forgot what they called it, but it's not the main courthouse anymore. It's again. And then everything else is reserved for the next hearing. And so
it's not the one on 211.
I'm sorry, what?
The courthouse is the 211 address.
I haven't seen the address in a long time, so I'm not remembering. It's that annex that's a couple of blocks from the main courthouse.
The main courthouse, the Justice Center. I've never been, so
No, the courthouse is always known as courthouse. Anywhere else where there's courts, they don't call it the courthouse. It's probably the Justice Center. Do you have an address for that? That might click my memory.
What I have for the Guadalupe County Justice Center is 211 West Court Street.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So, Your Honor, on this order, I put the interim. So it's a reset, Your Honor, and in the next page is the interim order, and then I put a request for productions as well.
Yes, I wanted that. If you have it in there, that's fine. You want to say it out loud? Oh, before we move on, it's courtroom 202. I think they've told us already, so they'll know where to go. Okay. And so, well, what kind of discovery did you want that you're going to put in the order, Ms. Coates?
I just took what we put in the pleading. So it says income tax returns for the previous 2 years, including for a party's DBA or sole proprietorship, which is not needed. If no return has been filed, then the Form W-2, Form 1099 in there, all payroll check stubs received in the prior 3 months. So what's this? Okay, I want January. 20,
We're gonna be
25.
there in June, so you want 3 months of check stubs? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so let's see. Actually, Your Honor, we'll do January 2025 until
The last paycheck
May?
prior to the court date?
Yes, until
Mhm.
June 2025, whatever he has there. So we'll say all payroll check stubs received for January 2025 until June 2025. So whatever he has up until then. Any policy statements, if he can get health insurance, if not, that's fine. But if he's able to, if he'll bring that. Proof of award letters for 2024 and 2025 from the Veterans Affairs Office. Any proof of financial help provided to Miss Brandon for the benefit of the child.
So basically, there will be nothing in order as far as child support. So I'll just wait until June. That's basically what I have to do, right? That will be ordered, correct?
You know, that's gonna put you 3 months later, so it's gonna be more than 38 months. It'll be 38 plus 3, so.
Right, exactly. That's why I don't. You see what I'm saying? This is,
You can send money, you send whatever you think you have. If you do it like you did before, where you can prove it with a Cash App or something like that, then there's no reason not to, and you get credit for it, so you owe less when we finally get to the numbers. So, but if you don't do it, you're just running the risk of she's going to be more pissed off because now you've been in court, you're still not paying. She didn't get child support today. She has every reason to be upset, but I don't have the numbers to give you the right number today. So both of you, it affects both of you. So if you want to send something on your own, whether it's low or high, or at least she has the benefit of the help for the time being. And if you already offered 600, I would send 600. And then we sort it out later, because that's going to hurt you by not doing
I
what
think
you
this is
should be
all
doing.
just okay. Yes, ma'am.
This is
Yes,
what
Your
I
Honor.
have to do because you don't have the proper proof today, sir. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yes,
Got it?
yes, Your Honor.
Like
Yes, ma'am. I'm
the
not
list of
giving
things.
you- I'm
Well,
not giving-
everybody wants to blame me, and I don't mind being blamed. But on the other hand, it's not my fault. Y'all don't bring evidence, and I have to do he says, she says, and I refuse to do it if I don't have to. So there. But I do want, if you have a W-2 for 2024, that would have been part of your tax return. Did you actually file tax returns yet for the last 2 years, including?
I have a W-2. I have it. I have a copy of it.
No, I know that, but I'm asking you if you filed tax returns for have you done it yet for 2024? You'll have.
Yes.
You've already done it, so you already have your tax return with the W-2 on there for 20.
I don't have a tax return, but I'm saying I have the W-2 for 2024. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
asking you about tax returns. Did you file tax returns?
Yes, I filed my taxes for 2024. Yes, ma'am.
You've already done it, even though they're due April 15th. You've already done it for last year.
Correct. For 24. Yes, ma'am.
Did you do 2023 as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what they're asking for. And if you have the additional W-2 for last year, that'd be great too. If you want to put
They're
it.
asking for the actual W-2, and they're asking for pay stubs.
Yes, because the pay stubs are for 2025 to see what you're currently making. So we'll have a better picture of your income this year, because they're not going to show up on your tax returns for prior years. Your current income. Got it?
Got it.
So it's all written in there. You heard them. I'm not going to ever repeat it, but it's something that's already been requested. And
And if he can bring proof of the children's age for the 4 other children, that would be appreciated, or a witness to testify. So
I'll
that
have
he
a
gets
witness
the
there. No problem.
proper credit for the 4 other children.
And then is there anything else you need in the way of proof? And well, the back pay, if you agree with mother's numbers that it was $958 by Cash App and $3,000, I didn't hear where that was from, Ms. Brandon. Where was that
Yeah,
from?
it was $49.50. That's what she said.
$958, $4,958 between Zelle and Cash App, ma'am.
Zelle. Okay, you agree with that number? Then you don't have to bring independent proof if you all have the same number in mind. That's great. I never get that, but thank you for that. Okay, so that's all I
Let me
can.
ask you a question. Does other things like diapers, wipes, clothes, other items I use through PayPal to buy on Amazon that I've sent to her over through the years, does those things count that I spent money
If
on?
they're for the child, then she used them for the child. They weren't purchases that you used for your kids. Well,
Right.
yeah. If
Yeah,
this
they went to our
money
home.
that
They
you
were sent to our
sent,
house.
fine. If they're necessaries like clothes and if you bought any groceries, if you bought any clothes or whatever else, diapers, wipes, yeah, I would
Okay.
consider that if that's not part of these two numbers that you've already given me, the 4958.
Yes.
So you have to bring proof of that. And then she has that
Okay.
chance to look at it and see if she agrees that that was something was purchased for the child. If
Oh,
she
it's documented. It's on Amazon. It's documented.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's got to admit she got it. That's the other thing. Okay, y'all heard enough. Any other questions, sir?
Wow. Mm-mm.
No? Any other questions, Mr. Hackett?
Not at all. Just nope. So was this on YouTube? This conversation?
All of this has been on YouTube. I've told you from the very beginning, it's live streaming on YouTube. We've been doing this whole time. But the rest of it won't be since you're going to be in court with me on June 17th.
Okay.
Ms. Brandon, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Then thank you. At least we attempted and got somewhere today with some of this. You got all that information, Ms. Code, so you don't have to, we don't have to relive this. Maybe you'll have some summaries for me from this testimony. That would
All
help.
right. I don't want to be rude. I got to get back to work, Judge. I got to go.
Then the last thing, the state's going to draft this, put it in writing, send it to you by an email, Texas office of the Attorney General's email, truly by this afternoon, late afternoon or 5 o'clock at the latest. Review it, sign it for me. If you don't sign it, it's still my order. I'm rendering this interim order on your case and resetting you for June 17th at 8:30 in person in Seguin. So be there or you're not there, you're defaulted, you're on legal notice, whether you sign this order, whether you get this order, whether you wrote this down or not, you're on notice, or you could be defaulted on this case if you don't show up in court at the right date and time.
Okay.
Then thank you, folks. You're excused and just start checking your emails after 5. And I'll conclude this hearing once y'all exit the virtual courtroom. Thank you.